Be fine. One moment here, Nancy. And I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you one thing on that monitor right there. You may see a little button that comes up that says "Got it." If someone can just push the "Got it" button
Oh, on the screen?
Yep.
on the screen. I'm sorry, it's
a
touch screen.
smart
You can push that.
TV.
It is very smart. And Ms.
Oh,
Warner,
very
you're all
nice.
set. Have a good first bicycle committee meeting.
Thank you, Seth.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now I guess I'm officially starting the meeting at 7:05, September 18th, 2023. And welcome to the first meeting of the Town of Scituate Bicycle Committee. It's very exciting. Thank you all for being here. And we really have an exciting project ahead of us. The first thing I like to start a meeting with is the diversity inclusion statement, which is the Scituate Bicycle Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. So I do have an agenda up here. We're going to first start with the introductions of people on the committee. I'd like to have you say a little bit about yourself, and I'd also like to know if you're interested in one of the officer positions that we'll be voting on shortly, so that we can hopefully have a full staff. I thought I'd start. My name is Nancy Warren. I've lived in Scituate for 35 years. I was a pretty avid biker when I was a kid, and then pretty much stopped biking when I was an adult until I retired about 3 years ago. I went on a trip to Amsterdam and I biked on a boat trip. And I came back to Scituate. I said, hey, where are the bike racks? Where are the bike lanes in Scituate? And here we are today. So I would be willing to do any of the positions that we have to vote on. Jeff?
Thanks, Nance. Jeff Helm, we're 7-year residents of Scituate, 31 years of Norwell, and you guys left the door open, we snuck in. Avid biker, I've been doing the MS bike ride and the Alzheimer's bike ride for the last 10 years or so. I just sort of love biking. We actually, Nancy and I went to college together, and she was so excited about the trip to Amsterdam a year ago. Cindy and I went this past year, and we came back with the same enthusiasm, saying, we can do this. When only 8% of the people in the US use bikes to commute to work, Amsterdam, I think, uses 69%, some crazy percentage. It's just, it's exciting to see. So we can do it here and do it safely, I hope.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. John Belber is actually in Ireland and it's about 1 a.m., so he's begging off. Dan.
Resident of Scituate here for about 10 years. My grandparents used to own here years ago. So as a kid, I used to spend some time here. A bit of the background. Bicycling is a passion. I absolutely love it. If I can share it with other people and enthusiasm and get people together to make it a better and safe place to cycle, that's what I'm here for.
Okay. And are you interested in any of the positions that we have open?
I may pass at first just to see how everything shakes out.
Okay.
If there's
If
an
there's an
need,
opening, you'll take it?
if there's a need,
Okay.
if there's an unfilled.
Okay. Sarah?
Hi, nice to see everyone. I am a fairly new resident of Scituate. My family and I moved here about 2.5 years ago, but we lived in Hull for 20 years prior to that, so we know the area well. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. Like probably all of us, I am an avid bicyclist myself. I bike mostly for fitness, also compete in triathlons with my older daughter. Our whole family bikes in certain ways. My husband commutes to Boston by bicycle, train bicycle.
Wow.
My daughter biked all 3 years to Gates Middle School. She's now in high school and trying to figure out whether biking is still cool. I have 2 daughters, both at Scituate High. And yeah, my older daughter also rides and competes in triathlons. And I really was excited to see the formation of a new committee. I read in the paper about the things that other bike committees in other towns have done in Provincetown and the North Shore and new infrastructure going in. Excited that there seems to be a lot of energy and enthusiasm here to improve infrastructure, improve safety. And, personally, I really like to make biking appear to be the first thing that people think of when they need to get around town, rather than getting in a car. I know that's a big leap from where we are now. Similarly, I've traveled in places like Denmark and biked in Copenhagen, where it's you see what can be done.
Right.
So excited about that.
Right, excellent. And are you interested in one of the positions?
I could be if the need was there. I certainly don't, I wouldn't raise my hand first, but absolutely willing to step in if necessary.
Okay, great, thank you. And Michael Bauer is on the screen, I think.
Yeah, Mike Bowler. Yeah, thanks for setting the Zoom up. I apologize. I would love to have been there in person, but I'm holding down the fort. My wife is traveling for work. So anyway, Mike Bowler. I've been a Scituate resident for about 7 years, coming up on 8 years. Before that, I was living in Somerville, and I went to college in Boston, and had a lot of experience biking around a city there. I sort of stopped biking for a little while, and then during the pandemic, like everyone else, I bought a bike and started to ride around Scituate, and it really sort of almost retired my car for our good weather months, and it's been really fun. I use my bike all the time to get around town. I know all the roads. My daughter rides on the back of it. She's 7, and we go to all the beaches, and I bring her to school, and I really want to get a lot of cycling in, during the good weather months, because it's a blast. I encourage everyone I talk to do it. It really is fun. And but you hear a lot of pushback in Scituate. The people are fearful of their safety, and they have good reason to be sometimes. So I really do want to make biking at Scituate a safer activity, because I think that people would jump on it if they could.
Okay, great. And how about yourself in a role in the office?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested in maybe the assistant role. I don't know if I want to volunteer as head, but yeah, absolutely. If the need is there.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Maura?
Yes, hi, I'm Maura. I don't do triathlons. I've never been to Amsterdam, or the Netherlands or Denmark. I just like riding, and I've been riding for like 12 years as a form of fitness. And I noticed how much other towns have ahead of us in terms of infrastructure and bike safety. I don't feel safe when I ride in Scituate, hardly ever. I do road biking, not so you have to be on the road, and I feel like people don't stop. They don't understand that you're going to be behind them if you turn, and it's just really not safe as it is in other towns, in especially in north of Boston. And we also have really great shoreline, and we have great tourism here. So we should be able to have a bike lane or a bike path or something that people could enjoy when they come to visit, kids too. So that's why I'm here.
And how about a role?
If I have to.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you all. I think anything is possible. I really do. It'll be a lot of work, but
do you want to ask me who I am?
yeah, well, I do. I actually had a place on the agenda for the
Oh, okay.
liaisons, but why don't we do it now, because that seems friendlier.
Okay, I'm Sue Gallagher. I'm a 40+ year resident of Scituate. I'm the representative on behalf of the Scituate Cultural District. When I worked at the State Health Department many years ago, I was in charge of the Injury and Violence Prevention Program and helped to get the original bike helmet law in place. I've been biking myself for about 15 years to deal with the arthritis in my knees. And about every year I go someplace on a bike trip, usually in France or Italy or
Nice.
whatever. So, and I also bike around Scituate to do errands, maybe 15 miles a week just doing errands. So I'd like to see more people biking, especially on shorter trips, and I want it to be people to feel safer. I know a lot of people that want to bike, but they're afraid to bike here.
Right. Okay, thank you. Why don't we talk to our other liaisons while we're here? Patrick, would you introduce yourself and tell us a
Sure.
little bit?
Yes, I'm Patrick Niebauer. I'm an alternate member of the planning board and I'm the liaison with the planning board. I've been in Scituate 7 going on 8 years now. And, our son is learning to ride his bike and he's getting some more independence around town and we want to definitely encourage that. I run, my wife's sort of an avid cyclist, but the point's been raised. It's not something any of us regularly do outside of our own street or when we're watching him or our daughters on the way to school. We live on Irving Road right by Wampatuck. And particularly the start of school, the end of school, you have cars, you have pedestrians, you have cyclists all competing for limited road space. So I definitely appreciate that as one of the goals of the bike committee. So I'm happy to just kind of in this role, take your ideas and anything that you need to convey to the planning board and vice versa. I can serve in that role.
Okay, great, thank you. Chris Mason.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Chris Mason. I'm your beach committee liaison. So I this is my second week. So I'm new to the committees, but been a resident of Scituate for 3 years now. My wife, she grew up here, and her and I met in the Carolinas, and she moved me up here. So I always loved Scituate. I love the beaches, and one of the things I always did in the Carolinas was a lot of mountain biking. So this seemed like a good fit. I would like to do some more road biking, but as everybody's mentioned, there are some places where I don't know that I'd feel super safe on a road bike. So happy to be a part of this and happy to find a way to kind of merge your goals with what we have going on at the Beach Commission.
Great, thank you. And Barry, are you there? I see your name.
I am here. Sorry, I'm face muted here because I'm currently on bedtime duty for my 3-year-old, so I'm going to spare you guys my background at the moment. But my name is Barry Kurland. I live in North Scituate. I had the privilege of being able to work on the very start of the bike committee with Nancy and her incredible group. I'm sad not to be part of the committee, but I'm the liaison from the EDC, and I'm very excited to be able to do that. I've been a bike commuter myself for about 20 years in cities, let's see, Washington, DC, New York, London, Paris. I absolutely would love to be able to introduce biking around town to my children, be able to get down to the beach and other areas in town with the kids and with my family. And so my goal is to be able to help you guys in your activities. And two of the things that I know are high on my list are being able to help connect this committee to others. We are working on improving communication with the EDC, and then sort of that third rail of everything Scituate, which is parking. I am so excited to see biking come along and become a solution that will be able to help us with so many things. So looking forward to participating with you.
Okay, great. Yes.
What does EDC stand for?
Economic development.
Thank you.
Megan Lewis.
One moment there. Megan, if you're there, you go right ahead now.
Oh, hi. I was just joining in. I'm not on the committee.
Megan is part
Okay.
of the public there, Nancy. She's good.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming. And we also have in here Toby Britton from the Scituate Police Department. You want to introduce yourself?
Yep. So I've been working in Scituate for about 7 years now. Dan had come into the station the other day and approached, I believe, Officer Stenbeck about the committee and then hoping that we could get involved. Today I'm just here to, listen to everyone's concerns and see how we can work together and collaborate to, make it, Situate a better community where people feel like they can safely ride their bikes themselves and their kids and not have to be worried about it.
And you also, before we were talking, you were kind of reviewing the roles that are in Scituate for the police department with traffic and regs and school coordinators.
Correct.
That just might be interesting for us to hear again.
What part would you like me to elaborate on?
Just the parts that you take place in the safety to school and the traffic.
Oh, yeah, so there was a lot
regulation.
of things that I was going through here where you guys had an expectations. So the safety of the school is like, I'll dive into it a little later on if you guys want to, but just certain ways that we can procure funding in town through grants that are provided to the states. As of now, we have a lot of officers within the community impact division, school resource officers. We'd like to be able to bring a lot of that back to the public schools to be able to actually, teach bike safety to kids, things like that. We used to, as I was a kid, Officer Wood would come in, kind of talk about school safety, bike safety, walking to school. That's unfortunately a little bit gone by the wayside. So it'd be nice to be able to see some of that come back into the school. So we can work with kids and then they can, work with us as well and kind of see a familiar face throughout town.
Are you familiar with the Safe to School Routes program?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. I guess there are people in the PTO at the different schools that are connecting with the coordinator.
Through the state?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's I believe there's two different grants that are set up right now. One for infrastructure and then one also for sites and lines.
Yes.
I believe the sites and lines deadline is approaching, I think Friday.
Yeah.
So that's coming up quickly, and that could be for obviously increasing, new signage in town, whether that's, crosswalk safety, repainting crosswalks, things like that. So I'm not sure. I don't want to, get too far ahead of myself because I don't necessarily know where everyone's at with that and how far you guys have, looked into that as of now.
Yeah, we're just starting, but I think it's a pretty active program and they do a lot of work with the kids in school training. They'll do bike rodeos and competitions at the high school level. They now cover K through 12, so all of those schools could be impacted by the programs.
Correct.
And they do the October 4th.
Yep,
walk
so
to school.
October 4th. We've done that the past several years. We'll do the fall walk to school, bike to school, and then there's usually one to try and do in the winter if the weather's okay, and then another one in the springtime as well.
Yeah.
That's something that, we work with the school resource officers as well to try and implement that. As long as the weather's good, it's always a big success.
I think all 3 elementary schools are doing that, October 4th.
Yeah, I think we usually have all 4 of them, right?
All 4 of them, yeah.
We usually have all 4, we'll end up doing it.
Yeah.
And we'll usually try and have officers on shift that can obviously, ensure that everything goes according to plan that day.
So she just reached out to me and she's saying this is a great day for active transportation. Even parents maybe and even people to work, and maybe that's something we want to get on our radar as sort of something to embellish. It's 2 weeks away, but anyway. Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming and being here and all of your energy. What I'd like to do right now is just review the charge. Karen Cranfield is our liaison, and she's in Ireland as well. I don't think she's traveling with John Belber, but she begged off today. So I'm going to try and just share our charge, and I would really appreciate it if maybe I won't. Let's see here.
Where is it on your computer?
If you don't mind, Maura, could you read the first 2 community expectations?
Yeah, where is it?
It's not up there, huh?
You have it in your
I have it
page,
You
second
printed it
page,
out.
second page.
Sarah, if you have it, why don't you just read a couple of them?
Sure, the committee expectations.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
Undertake a comprehensive analysis of the current bicycling infrastructure and design a network of primary and secondary bicycling routes in town to enhance safe riding and means of bike parking in town centers, recreational, historical, and cultural sites. We keep going.
Sure, I'm trying to get this to come up here.
2, design safe to school and activities routes and recommend bike parking locations within the biking network that will provide a safe, efficient, and healthy way for children, teachers, school employees, and families to get to school and activities. Work with our local police to develop protocol to enhance safe to school routes. 3, create routes for tourists that engage visitors in the natural beauty of Scituate, the medley of charming small businesses in North Scituate, downtown Scituate, and Greenbush, and the ability to meet the historical character, green spaces, and the beaches of Scituate, and outline itineraries on the Scituate virtual visitor site. 4, work with various committees to create activities and events that will highlight the benefits of bicycling for local transportation in town. Recreation, beach, Scituate Harbor, cultural, economic development planning. Alleviate local parking problems by encouraging bike to work as a cultural way of life for Scituate residents working in Scituate. Encouraging healthy exercise, new community connections, saving money, and decreasing their carbon footprint. 5, work with our local police to encourage safe bicycling, and provide safety for touring bicyclists in town, perhaps utilizing e-bikes in the process. 6, promote green bikes or rental bikes at train stations and work to attract a bike shop to town for rental, purchase, and repairs. 7, explore funding resources, including state green grants, complete streets, mass trails, and CPC funding.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Anytime.
I'm having technical difficulties. But
That's okay, Nancy.
Continue.
Let's stop sharing that real quick. It's fine. Let's get to that
Okay.
mission statement. Yep, let's go find that again. If you just want to share your desktop, you just do that. I think you're comfortable doing that. And then when you
okay,
good, and then find it and double click it.
yeah, okay.
You get it?
I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute, then I'll go back and do it that way. Thank you. So right now, I think the next thing on the agenda is we have to elect our officers. And everybody's fighting for the position, so I don't know how this is gonna work.
Or you elect everyone who's not here, right?
John already said that he'd rather wait than be on an
He's not
officer,
here.
so
He's not
that
here.
Can't defend
he's
himself.
covered himself. What we need to do is somebody needs to nominate each one of the positions, somebody needs to second the nomination, and then we need to do a roll call because it's a hybrid meeting. So, I heard somebody volunteer to be a vice chair. That was Mike Bowler.
Yeah,
I nominate Mike Bowler to be a vice chair. Second the motion. Okay, let's do a roll call, Mike. I think you can vote on yourself.
Sure, I'll vote myself in as vice chair.
Okay, Sarah,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Maura,
Aye.
and I say aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Anybody want to be nominated for chair?
I'd like to nominate
Nancy,
Nancy.
Yeah.
you have to
Seeing
do
that
it.
this was your great
I
child.
second it.
Okay, we'll do a roll call again. Mike,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Maura,
Aye.
and myself, I guess. Okay,
I know you sent out the description of clerk and website editor and thought that they could be combined, is that true?
yes.
What, can you remind me what it does? It takes minutes, obviously, right?
The clerk takes the minutes, helps preparing the agenda, posts the agenda and through the town. And then the other thing is they learn how to post the agenda onto the website
On the town
themselves.
website.
What?
On the town website.
On the town website. Right. Those are two places. One of the solutions I think some of the committees do is they rotate the clerk position. And I think that's great, I just don't wanna have to worry about the rotation, so if somebody wants to be the clerk and then everybody takes a turn, I think that's great too. Or somebody wants to share the position.
So I don't mind, but there's also oftentimes I might not make a meeting. Cause I commute
Right.
from Boston and I work late sometimes, so
Right.
I worry about the commitment that, because of that, so if somebody wants to share it with me, that would be great, or be my backup. I just don't wanna be letting you down.
Would it make sense to pick somebody that could be the head of it and rotate it each meeting? Or would you rather share it with, or would somebody rather share it with Maura?
Either way is fine, I'm happy to start. I just don't, I wanna put it out there that 7 o'clock sometimes is hard for me to get home.
Dan?
Okay,
I'm happy to do one or the other. I mean, I think combining is a little more, maybe that's the most prudent thing to do, but I'm happy to either be the clerk. I prefer to be the clerk if we do it separately, unless we want to have it combined.
what do you mean if we do it separately? You just do it,
If
You'd
we
be
were to do just the
responsible for it.
clerk and then we have the media.
Then I'll do the media,
okay,
cause I can do that from home, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I don't make the meeting.
all right, so I'll nominate Jeff to be the clerk, the secretary, I guess, clerk.
I second it.
Second, okay. Roll call, Mike,
Aye.
Sarah? Aye. Jeff?
We have to abstain, I think, doesn't
Maybe, say aye just in case you
it? Oh,
can.
aye.
Dan?
Aye.
And I. And I nominate Maura to be the website.
Second it.
Roll call, Mike,
Aye.
Sarah? Aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Maura?
Aye.
And I. Okay. Great. Excellent. It's the hardest thing we're ever gonna do. So in terms of tonight, we've already gone over the select board. We are really an advisory board. We are not gonna have any funds ourselves. I think part of our job is gonna be to get into funding and work with the state and whoever else we can find. And I know the Safe to School routes, the sign and lines grants are $10,000. The route grants can be several $100,000. So there's a lot of money out there, and I think we're gonna have to help the town find that as we go forward. Another thing I think, I did talk to Kevin Cafferty at DPW, and this is a big project, and as much as we like to think we know where to ride in Scituate and how the routes should be, probably a great goal would be to get a technical design from a traffic design company. And there is funding for that kind of thing as well. We have our own CPC funding, and we have, again, the Complete Streets funding, and the MAPC has funding for technical design. So all of that is kind of all part of the big picture. I think when we next go over what our projects will be, there's a big picture, and then it will be the job of the people working on the different parts of the project to break it down into manageable goals, 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. One of the things that's a little too bad is that the CPC funding deadline for this next time is October 1st. And I was really hoping we'd be more to, would move faster and we could at least get some bike funding in there. I'm actually hoping whoever is gonna be working on funding is maybe we call them and say, could we have a little extra time, or could we fine tune our application like in November? I don't know, it'd be worth a shot. But the CPC funding applications go in now, they get approved in the spring, they get granted in the spring. The the money comes available. So if we miss this one, it's gonna be not until next year at this time that we actually get funding.
So I was on the Hall CPC that when we first voted it in, so for the first term, so that was kind of interesting. I'm sure every town does it differently, I'm not as familiar with.
Can everybody hear her?
Situate does it, but what I remember from that experience is that the applications, especially if it's for something quite simple, are not necessarily that burdensome. So I guess one question is, have there been things already, I mean, a lot of you have obviously been working on this behind the scenes. The selectmen may have something small in mind that we could probably make that deadline if it was just, like, we're missing $10,000 for some bike rack in this one place we've identified, we haven't been able to find in the town budget. So maybe there is.
Yes, I do have quotes from a couple companies about the cost of the bike racks, the installation.
I'm just using that as an example
Yeah.
of something that doesn't necessarily require a lot of permitting and background work and all these other things.
Right.
But it was a fairly, at least in Hull, it was quite a simple, the initial form was quite simple to
Yeah.
submit.
Okay, so maybe we can target that.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows, Nancy, the sort of level of planning that goes into applying for that. I don't know if it's simple or you need to have a more comprehensive sort of plan before you go for the funding. I don't have any knowledge of that or experience with that. I don't know if you have more
I
insight.
do think you can put in something that's not really fine tuned and they may bounce it back and ask for more in the process, but at least the
Yeah,
request is in
You're in
there.
the mix. Yeah, sure.
rather than
Yeah.
asking for extra time, we put in, here's what we have so far and work with them on
Yeah.
it. But at least there, when it was something that was going on town property, even if it was a different committee bringing it forward, it was still the town that had to be the applicant. So that was how, I don't know if Situate does that similarly. And that wasn't always a good thing because you didn't necessarily have consensus between the committee and the town. But if there's something that we already know, for example, the board might be interested in, we can help facilitate that.
Right, it is true, we have to.
Because otherwise you end up having to go before the board and get their buy-in and all that, that's what takes time.
That's something I'm gonna need help with, because I'm gonna just say, let's do everything.
I think, you can't necessarily apply for bike racks unless you've talked to DPW and gotten,
Exactly, yeah.
Right,
maybe
That's why I was
they have to
thinking,
know where they go
if there's already
first.
something they knew they wanted.
right. Well, we'll talk to our liaison
Yeah.
about that, because it could be something that, based on the timing, we could at least get it started and get those checks, done afterwards. So I think what we're gonna do next then is, the idea about the open meeting law and subcommittees, if we have a group of 4 of us or more, that's a quorum and it's required to be an open meeting. If you have groups of 3 or less, then when you can really do subcommittee work without having open meetings that may be efficient. Any deliberations actually come back to the board, but you can do a lot of communication in these subcommittees. So I just put together sort of a project development worksheet. It's just my idea, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't want to be, I want it to be fluid, like if there's other ideas and a better way of doing it, I think that's what we should do. But I just thought to get us started and to look at kind of the roles that I think we have, that we could look at this. Can you see this, everybody?
We can
Yes.
see that, yes.
Is there another copy?
Open that.
So you can grab it.
Yeah, we can share.
Okay, thanks. Can't quite make it out on the screen.
Does anybody else need a copy?
Thanks.
Why don't you take a minute and look at this, and I think these are kind of categories that have to be covered. Some of them are smaller. The bike routes, of course, is gonna be the big long-term project. Bike safety and education, I think Toby, can help with that, and safe to school routes has education, just in general, how to increase bike safety among drivers and among kids, bikers. That would be all things that we could do. Improve access to bikes, improve access to local mechanical repair. We actually have 2 bike racks, bike repair stations. The rec department has them, and they're not installed anywhere yet. So that's something that maybe we can help them with. And the cultural committee, I think, has a kiosk going downtown.
Yeah, it's been, actually, they've had it in storage for 4 years. They're trying to get somebody to put it up. They're working with the town to get it put up.
And it's gonna be
Right as you enter the district, right at the beginning.
right across from Maria's, which is where we thought would be a great place to have a bank of bike racks when you come into town. And it may be a good place for the bike rack, the bike repair station, but that's in the hands of the rec department. And so under cultural work, I have talked to Nick Lombardo at the recreation department. He's very open to like some slow rolls and cultural events in town. And also he's part of where we're gonna put the bike racks at the beaches, because some of the space overlaps with the lifeguard space. So we wanna work through that, and hopefully the lifeguards will use the bike racks instead of driving to the bike spaces. That would be the goal there, but so there's kind of a lot to do there as well. And then the funding work is big, and probably pretty interesting, I would think too. So how do you guys feel? How do you want to approach this? There's lots to do and lots of different avenues.
Richie, on the funding, does anyone on the committee have experience in grant writing, or is that something we could?
I'm not on the, I don't know what I'm allowed to do as liaison.
I wonder if you could.
But you have experience, you could help us.
Yeah.
So someone on the committee could.
So I do grant writing a lot at work, not anything to do with bicycles or
Great.
state grants, but I'm a scientist down in Woods Hole, so I'm writing grants constantly for research projects. And I don't know how well that transfers to this, but I'd be happy to take a stab at it and learn. Absolutely, that's certainly an area that I'd like to add. And I'm really good at doing research. So I feel like I could dig in to see what opportunities are available and what is needed for those grants, but would probably need the help of the people who have been on committees where you've already gotten grants to the town to know.
So can I put your name?
Yeah,
Next to-
absolutely.
So my experience, I'm also a scientist, big grants, but I've written smaller grants to foundations. And then as part of the both the Scituate Cultural Council and the Cultural District, we've written grants to the Massachusetts Cultural Council, so the experience is varied.
Okay, that's good. Great. Other people interested in funding work? Or other thoughts on how does this all look as a way to divide up the work? Mike, do you have an opinion or thoughts?
I think this is all great, and I have a lot of the same thoughts, coming in, and I think probably all of us have some of these ideas that have popped into our head from, just being a cyclist around town. I think we probably, this is a great way to divvy it up, and then there's probably things within each category that are, maybe we could target as like a phase one that's sort of a little lighter on funding, maybe a little lighter on the cross coordination. Maybe there's some low hanging fruit that we can start with, and then try to, phase in some of the bigger goals as we, get moving here. And I think we have to be working towards a bigger sort of network goal, I think. And, that's sort of where my head's at least, where we want to create a network that works for the town, so connecting the schools, connecting the beaches, connecting, thinking about our main roadways that we would need some signage on and things like that. So I just, Nancy, you had sent out that 2005 plan, and I thought there was a lot of good content in there. Even though that didn't take off, there was still a lot of good bike loops and things that I think we'd probably still want to be targeting. So it's always good to like be thinking of what's the holistic plan eventually, what you would want to see here, and how can we build towards that, even if it's little chunks here and there, and working our way towards that phase plan.
Yes, and when Mark Fenton met with us earlier this year, he said there's no time like when road work is just done to get things in. And even if it's that new bit of country way, it's not big enough for a bike lane, but it's sure big enough to be a greenway, and just have that signage done when they do the lines there. There's that.
I think we need to take our sort of, even if they do feel a bit smaller, they're not exactly our dream goal, but we should probably just try to, if there's some sort of shared roadway markings, we at least establish that. Not everything's going to be a divided sort of bike lane, a full on path protected from cars. I think we just got to set our expectations that we're trying to put some bike infrastructure on a town that's been here for hundreds of years, and we just got to be rational about it, I think. So.
Right, I agree. There are a lot of one-way cliff rides that are a great greenway opportunities, so
yeah.
I agree with you on that. And I did want to mention, there was a sidewalk committee. They're very interested in getting a sidewalk completely from Minot to town. It's half done. It'll be very important to work together with them. I think most funding likes it best when it's both pedestrian and bike collaboration and shared space. So that was just something I wanted to say.
There's at MAPC, they have a bike guy. I wrote his name down because someone I knew had.
You want to tell people what MAPC
Oh, the
is?
Metropolitan Area Planning Council and Commission. They work with all the regional towns on planning things, everything really. And they're a really, really big resource to our town and to all different areas. So we're part of the South Road District. But they have, I don't know him, David Lautzenheiser is the bicycle transportation guy. And I wondered if it might make sense to, I don't know if any of you know him or have worked with him, but to reach out to him and say, hey, we're new, we're just getting going. Maybe he has some resources to send us, or would even join us on a Zoom. I feel like there are people that have been at the beginning of this process probably a lot, or that we can learn a lot from those who've gone before, both how to find low-hanging fruit, also how to avoid pitfalls.
Right.
So we don't end up going in the wrong direction. So one thought I wanted to put out there, I don't know if it would proceed how we divvy things up, he may have some thoughts on that, would be to sort of ask someone with that level of expertise, whose job it is to work with towns, to weigh in.
Sarah, what is his name again?
David Lautzenheiser, I don't know how exactly to pronounce it, Lautzenheiser. He works for sustainable communities programming and bicycle transportation.
I think that'd be really useful to just get a push in the right direction, maybe, just so that we know what we're, what are the high impact items that he thinks are meaningful for the overall, yeah.
I had reached out to the company that did the 2005 program, and we've been in touch recently, and he's willing to have a conversation the first week of October with whoever's interested. We could have a little call with him if anybody else is interested, but I thought I'd talk to him and get some of the same sort of information from him.
Nancy, on things like that, do we have to worry about open meeting law?
Well, not if it's not a deliberation, it's just information, and it would just be 3 or less people, so it's not like we're deciding anything, we're just getting information.
Great.
Similar to like an on-site inspection that you might do, as long as there's no deliberation and consensus and all that, it's just information gathering. I mean, I can double check those.
Or if we had someone like that come to an open meeting, presumably we would put it on the agenda and then.
Right.
I would think that would be
Right. So I thought I could get some feeling from him, see if that's something he's
What
willing
was
to
his
do.
name?
Craig Miller.
They also might have some knowledge of what all this costs, because what do we ask for?
It was more than
You know, in
Right.
terms of funding, grants and whatnot, I wouldn't know what a bike rack costs. I mean, you know, I know you got some pricing and things like that, but what do road markings cost? What signage costs? You know,
Right.
not sure, yeah.
Right, and he also, part of like in that Salem plan, they said, part of what they do is how to engage the community.
Yeah.
And get surveys done, and they, MACP or PC.
MAPC has done that, yeah,
Yeah,
there
they,
was one for the South Shore Coalition, they did a mobility study in 2022 that covered some, so Scituate is in that, and I can send that, can I send things around to the group? How does that?
yes, that's another thing, when we communicate by email,
Yeah,
we can send something, we can't deliberate about
okay,
it,
that's what it
so
was, I knew there was some,
you can just
pitfall
send
there.
it and say,
Okay.
here's what I found,
Okay.
and that's it, it's
Okay.
not.
so I can send that
I believe
mobility
that's
study
correct.
around.
So I've never been on a committee before, so if anybody
think that's
does, but I do think the safe to school routes is gonna be key, and I think it's gonna be important to get in touch with the school committee and find out who we can contact at the schools to work with anything that we wanna do at the schools as well. Toby, do you have any suggestions for us at all in terms of?
So I guess a couple of my thoughts would be more so like I hear some of the ideas of people saying like, this is what other towns, you know, have going or works for them. So I guess starting from like the get-go, like reaching out to other surrounding towns, like I heard some people say like Norwell or something like that, like how did they start with these, you know, certain bike paths they created? You know, what worked for them? How do they get funding for them? Kind of like brainstorming, you know, stealing people's ideas and what works for them on that notion, I think is a good idea. Other than that, I mean, I think it seems like there's a lot on the agenda. I think it's going to be important to kind of prioritize and execute like what's important, opposed to just throwing it all on, you know, all out there at once. It's going to be, I think, just overwhelming. So figuring out like what do we want to tackle first and go from there. Like what's the priority going to be, and then just go down the list. Otherwise, I think it's a lot here, and I think it's all great. So I think figuring out what's the biggest priority first is going to be a good spot to start.
I heard somebody say that's zoomed in about having like a small win, picking something that's easy to get done so that you get more established and you can point to an accomplishment. I forget who said it, but somebody did.
Mike.
I
Yeah,
also work well
exactly.
with
I mean, Nancy had,
like.
yeah, Nancy had all the categories there. I think within each category, there's probably some that can go first, maybe, and we just got to pick those out and maybe target these. Sorry, Maura, I didn't.
Maury.
No, I was just saying if we could say like, what is a timeline for each, like, I work better when strategic planning has like. Incremental goals, does that make sense? Then you can take like, okay, our next meeting is when, what do we wanna have accomplished by then? Or when is the best time to get do we wanna start with schools, do we wanna start with bike racks, do we wanna start with, what is the first thing we wanna start with, and then what's our timeline for that?
I think the first thing you wanna start with is fact finding from the other towns. Just to
Yeah.
find out what they're doing and get some ideas that will help with these projects.
On the safe to school routes, I'm happy to reach. I've been in touch with a representative for the state, so I'm happy to like reach out in terms of that. I know, like you were talking grant funding, some of them aren't as cumbersome as others. I think this one was pretty kind of like an overall idea of like, what's your general idea of what you'd like to use the funding for. It doesn't need to be, you know, a whole laid out plan. In terms of like I said, funding, that's just the deadline on that is Friday. So
Can I take that on? And just see if I could find out if we could.
I can forward you the contact, the person I've been in touch with.
Okay.
Feel free to
Is it
reach out to
Colleen?
them. I'm sorry?
Is it Colleen? Is that her name?
It may be, I can double check for it right now.
I think I forwarded you guys all that safe school routes update.
Yes, it was Colleen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's happy to come to one of our meetings as well. So I think that that would be something to get on the agenda too.
Is there any way that we could fill out a grant by Friday or no?
It's not super long. If you look on the
Right.
mass.gov website, you'll be able to find all the information, everything on there
Yeah.
in terms of funding and the requirements, eligibility.
Are we
We're
allowed to
already
do that?
partners with
We'll
the state.
see, I think we have to talk to the select board.
Yeah, we're already
Yes.
partners with the state in terms of safe to school route, so that was like one requirement already. In terms of grant funding, I'm not familiar with writing it, so I don't know.
Okay.
The process of getting it in, like you said, you have to go before the select board. In terms of that, I'm not exactly sure.
So I guess I could take on getting in touch with Karen and saying CPC funding and that this kind of grant thing, you know, what's the
Maybe
protocol?
if they just have an outline of a process, like on a committee like ours, what hoops do we have to go through to submit grants, or where do we bring them somewhere else to get submitted by the town? Or maybe if we just know the process.
And a sense of the timeline.
Yeah.
Right, easy enough to say like, oh yeah, we could fill that out by Friday, but if it has to go before the
Right.
board of selectmen,
Right,
it has to get posted
exactly.
2 weeks ahead of time, and you're looking like a month out before you could do anything.
But I'm happy to get in touch with, I like the idea of working with the schools, since I work at a school. If that's okay.
I'll do an email and include you and you.
Yeah, absolutely, I can
And
follow up.
send it to
I think,
Colleen's.
Like you said, you've been in touch with Colleen, I'm sure she'd have some good insight on
Yeah.
the process of going through that, just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Even if not this time, the next time around.
Toby, you mentioned that, I think I heard you say, I don't know if it was when I walked in or later, that like your department had already signage and things like that, or plans for signage, but it just wasn't, like, you hadn't gotten to the next step of like putting it out or figuring out what that, is that
Yeah, so
something
that
we
was
can
the
help with, or is there some like, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, that seems like maybe something that just
That's
needs a
something we
little
could get done.
nudge we could get done if that's helpful, or if there's some other thing that's stopping that
Right.
from actually being employed.
So that was something that was obtained through the highway department, or the
Yeah.
DPW rather.
Oh,
It was
okay.
new signage for the 4 feet law.
Yeah,
So in
'cause
terms
that's
of like
very new,
passing, so
right.
that's relatively new within
Yeah.
the state. I know they were awarded 25 signs. I don't know, I think it was like maybe 10 large ones, 15 smaller ones. A lot of times, like when we work with putting in new signage, no parking, things like that in town, usually, you know, it'll be myself or another officer saying, hey, can you put this sign here?
Yeah.
So the DPW is actually doing the installing of it.
Right,
So that could be something too, where more so like this committee could establish like, hey, we want a sign here, or we
yeah,
wanna
helping
put
figure out
something
where to
here.
put it,
Yeah,
it seems like
exactly.
that,
Yeah.
we don't need the money since the signs are here, and you
Right,
guys are in
I
the
don't know
process
if
for
they've
installing.
actually like procured them yet.
Oh,
I know
okay. Oh, they're on
they've
the
been
way.
awarded
Yeah.
them, I just don't
Yeah.
know if they actually have them yet.
Okay,
That's something that I can reach out to, or you can reach out to Kevin Cafferty as
Okay.
well, and see what that is, but that's just a good idea, you know, brainstorming like, hey, well, this
a
would be a
lot of
good
people
spot for
don't
a
know
sign.
about that, well, I think that'd be a really nice thing to
No, they're definitely not aware of
get
it.
education among the public.
Do you do things like with speed signs too? Is that directly through, if we were trying to get traffic calming?
But yes, so
areas?
traffic calming solutions, that was another one that was part of the safe to school route. I think that's more of the infrastructure design, because that can be a little more on the expensive side. So that's something we've done in the past. There's certain things like we'll get funding through the department itself for, you know, some of the radars you'll see throughout town. Those are traffic calming solutions we'll use. A lot of that can go through the traffic rules committee as well.
Where do you get the signs that, you know, share the road? I always ride by the one on Hollitt Street and wonder why there's not any anywhere else. You know, the share the road bike sign?
Right, yeah, so the DPW highway department, they order all the signage in town. So if you
So
guys
it'd be
ever
nice
have
to
like any
get
requests
some
or
more of
anything, they're
those.
the ones that you're gonna wanna get in touch with in terms of that. And once again, a lot of this comes down to like the funding aspect
Yeah.
of it too. So if you have you know, funding for signs or lines, things like that, you can obviously use them in that aspect.
That's something we could do with CPC. I mean, that could be a real simple
Yeah,
submission, a placeholder saying we want to, because I think education is one of the most important things we do. We can start with the schools, and sort of get the public awareness out. And if we could even put in funding for working with the kids with the police department in terms of bike safety. Teaching parents that, you know what, you can't be on your phone when there are bikers in front of you, that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's that whole learning process that the kids adopt that driving pattern when they see their parents. And if we can educate the parents that there are kids on bikes, and it's a whole, I think that's a whole nother thing. I'm happy to sort of jump in on the education and then number 3, if you want. As we work, we're actually working with the DPW, or not, I'm sorry, the Mass Registry in terms of trying to get an enhanced program in there for the driver training in their manual right now, because I think bikes are mentioned on 3 pages. And then what you were saying, Toby, in terms of teaching the kids about bike safety and driving.
Right, Nancy had touched on that earlier too, where the Safe to Schools route, they offer the the rodeo as well, the bike rodeo. So
Yeah,
there's
they
a lot
target
that you can.
second graders and
Yeah,
they
you can
corral
really-
them, they practice signage and all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that you can really bring in and kind of broaden your horizon as well.
yeah, it seems like education, right? You have to tackle from both sides, like you have to teach kids and people to ride their bike in a safe and predictable way, and then you have to teach other roadway users that there are vulnerable roadway users like bikers and pedestrians that we need to watch out for. So, we wanna go both ends of that at some point.
On the safe route thing on October 4th, can we get perhaps have the sign by the recycle center? Announce that or say, get up there, watch for kids. That kind of thing instead.
Yeah, a lot of
What happens on that day when
Is that a
it's
walk?
the police out there more?
Yeah, we'll always have extra patrols. We have 2 school resource officers. I'll be away that week, but we usually put on extra patrols to help just in terms of making sure that every school has an officer there to assist with the process. Each school has a different kind of location they meet at. I know Wampatuck's like Egypt Beach parking lot, so they vary. In terms of like signs or anything like that, you guys will want to reach out to the highway department, DPW, just any requests you have, stuff like that. They have a couple signboards in town, so.
Again, sort of public awareness, if you said safe route to school October 4th, people are going to go like, what is that? Then they start asking questions about it and sort of trigger.
I don't know how we get information out to the public really yet, I'm not really sure.
Social media is always a big one.
Social media, is that, okay, I guess it is.
Just
I know
to
there's a rule.
recommend, I'm not a big social, like, we don't really do a ton in ourselves, like we have our own department Facebook, but myself, like I don't promote a ton of my own stuff,
I
so.
suppose a brochure at the school, but I'm sure the school is promoting information about that.
I think we have to
Yeah,
research it
yeah.
and find
Yeah.
out.
No, the walk to school thing, we always do that every year, so that's the
pretty well
email usually, the school usually puts like a blast out to all the parents, so it's usually pretty well known. that,
That's just
goes on.
elementary schools though, right? I mean,
It
we
is.
could also try to expand that to the middle and high school.
Right,
It'd be nice for
right.
I mean, and
having high schoolers, they give up on that so easily.
Hi, Patrick.
I was just gonna say, and this is just completely brainstorming, but I was just looking at the Safe to Schools resources website that mass.gov has, and they've even done things like there's like pop-up traffic calming where like there's almost like public art put on either streets or sidewalks. And to me, it seems like a no-brainer to try to partner with the schools for that. Maybe not this year, but in the future you have walk to school day, you have that with the elementary schools. But I believe there, or maybe it's the optimist in me, but I believe there might be some kind of appetite for the middle and high schools to maybe work on doing some kind of chalk art installation or something like that in connection with that. And that could be something that's just in the curriculum for that week or 2 weeks that's maybe low resources but high upside.
Excellent.
And in terms of getting news out at least in the high school, so my kids are both this year gonna be involved in the Scituate high school newspaper, which is available to anyone online, so it's not just to the school. And I was talking to the the teacher who's the mentor for that program, and she said because Scituate doesn't have a local paper anymore, it's actually the leading source of news for the town. And I thought, oh, maybe we should broadcast that more, you know, thinking from the school side, but actually hearing this conversation. I mean, social media is great, but it also may be a way to get, you know, those environmental clubs, sustainability club, maybe even bicycle activists in the school, students, who may be interested in learning more and then spreading the word through that mechanism.
Yeah, I think for my daughter is a first grader at Jenkins, and she did the walk to school last year. I think it's good. This year I will make an effort to be there and at least be taking some pictures of the kids walking to school, because I think that could be helpful, you know, future social media posts or future brochures that we want to create, just to have the visual of those kids going to school and enjoying it and all that. So I'll try to do that for Jenkins, and I'll try to coordinate a few of our parent friends to do, you know, Hatherley and Cushing and whatnot, to see if we can get pictures of all the sights and sounds for that day.
Great.
Even if we don't use it right away, it will just be something that we can, you know, work towards.
Okay, so maybe our next, we have a couple things that are gonna happen. I'll talk to the web designer, you can talk to, and
MAPC? Yeah.
Laura's gonna talk to Colleen. And I guess all of us can ask those people if they'll come to a meeting, right? And
I should know this, do we meet every other week?
we have
Once a
to
month?
decide
Or
what we
haven't
wanna
even
do
decided?
about
Okay.
meetings. We have to decide if the first, it's every 2 weeks for 2 months while we get going, or once a month, and subcommittees can work together in between that. I think if we all sit and look at this and try and decide low-hanging fruit for each of these categories, maybe it's too much of us doing all of it. Maybe we each pick, 2 of us pick bike racks, 2 of us pick bike routes, bike education, culture work, and just say, is there any low-hanging fruit for the next meeting on any of these?
Would it make sense for the October 4th Sacred School to put together a quick brochure, and somebody might be able to do that, just to be able to hand out on that day to parents, or send it to a school email or something saying, hey, there is a Scituate Bike Committee, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, I'm just thinking, how do we, again, public awareness?
I mean, I guess my question to all of you is Instagram something we wanna do, or Facebook, or when you say social media, what's the best?
Can we get one of the high school kids to help us do that?
Yeah, probably. I'm thinking, so when I was in Hull, I was part of the group that started the Bike to School program there, and there are so many pieces of paper and forms that go home for permission and all of that. I feel like you could do Instagram, but you could also, if we could contact the
Don't they have virtual
principals.
backpacks now?
I don't know how they do forms, so
I
maybe
think
it's
it's
not
all
paper.
virtual.
Maybe it's electronic, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like, I'm sure there's permission slips gonna be going home if they haven't already, so maybe just reaching out to the principals or assistant principals at all the elementary schools and asking if we could insert a line about the committee. I guess I'm not quite sure what we're asking,
I think it's too
what we're
soon
trying
to
to
like,
tell them.
I don't know, I feel like we have a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think it's October 4th is a good opportunity, because it is a,
Yeah.
Right, I think Colleen's point was that it's a good opportunity to tell everybody to get on their bike that day, not just the kids, you know.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you work
that's
in town,
that feels.
ride your bike there. I mean, we have a lot of people that work downtown and drive downtown, they're 3 miles away, you know, so I think that point of what she was saying
I
is,
see.
you know, it's a good day to say, hey, everybody should be out on their bike, the kids are out
That feels,
biking.
I would imagine from a public safety perspective, that might be
scary.
soon to organize the whole town.
Toby's gonna be away.
riding their
Yeah,
bike.
he's
I will be around, so
That's
it's fine.
how I feel bad with like too late on to some of these things for right now, but
Would you like me to create a social media post that just introduces us and says something like, we're encouraging biking, and do you want me to just share it with you and?
sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
And then we can decide if we can put it on Scituate Connect or send it to the schools and see if they'll put it in the, just a quick post.
I wonder if
Newly
the
formed
environmental
Scituate Bike
club
Commission.
or anybody like that would
Yeah.
align with us
Yeah.
at the high school.
yeah, no, I think I'd be happy to try to connect to various groups of the high school through my kids. I wanna have a clear sense of what it is. Are we just like making people aware and pointing them to the town website, saying, here, we're a committee, here's, you can learn more about us and our charter, or are we like specifically trying to highlight something like the bikes, like, what is it, we're, at this point, we'd be
Right,
asking them
right.
to help us
Right,
with,
just,
but-
I would just say at this
Yeah.
point, it's just the awareness of the
Yeah.
There is a
committee
bike
and the
committee,
website.
yeah.
Right.
and
It's an
look at the
introduction.
meetings or,
Yeah.
you know, at some point, probably pretty soon, we should try and get some kind of a public forum.
Yeah.
Going, you know,
Yeah,
and I
'cause
think the Safe to School routes helps
Yeah.
with that sort of thing too.
yeah, but I'll definitely mention my daughter and ask her if there's a way for them to just have like a blast in this, you know, the school newspaper saying, hey, did you know there's a bike committee in town? Something,
Yeah,
it can be that simple, right?
yeah.
I think it's also important that people learn what's already been happening in Scituate around using bikes and bike safety and that kind of thing. I'm learning a couple of new things today. I mean, I knew about safe routes to school, but
Well,
I
maybe-
didn't know there was,
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe
there's
I
gonna be a
could,
sign put up.
they could interview you, Nancy, or something for like an article in the paper.
Just got
Why
through this.
Or Scituate TV,
What?
or Scituate TV.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not the beginning.
Yeah.
So I just wanna say, short video on the website, you never know, because last week's Globe had a really big piece about Scituate. Why come to Scituate and the Scituate Cultural District? And they interviewed Patrice May, who's the chair of the Scituate Cultural District Committee. And, you know, the people that are on it said, well, how did that happen? She said that somebody saw the video that was online, and that's why they came. And I was like, whoa, that was worth spending the time to do the video.
Yeah. That was one of the Safe to School for the high school last year was doing a video. That again is due 9/17, whatever, it's too late.
Yeah.
But on road safety, bike road safety.
okay.
So all the kids in the state could, you know, compete.
Oh,
And they got like $600 or something like
Okay.
that. That's another thing that Colleen can help us with, is what they're doing in all the different schools.
okay, that's great.
I know, so just back to the next meeting, what do you guys think? Wanna try and do one in 2 weeks and think about low hanging fruit and continue on talking, or is 4 weeks better,
That would be October 2nd,
right?
it's fine with me. I have a few things to do.
When was the CPC deadline? Was that October 5th?
October 1st, but
Oh.
I can kinda take the bike rack thing, cause I've been
Yeah, maybe talk to Karen.
suggesting locations to the beach commission and the rec commission, and maybe I could just put something together for that, so.
Maybe talk to the DPC guy,
Yeah.
Kevin, and just say, is it okay if we put in a grant for? I think you'd talk to Karen and him and see if it's okay if we do it for bike racks, right?
Right.
Get some bike racks, that's low hanging fruit.
Right,
So as far as the bike racks, are we trying to locate where they're gonna be in town as well, or are we just looking to?
we're
Yeah,
trying
the
to
funding
give
for it.
suggestions, yes, I
Right,
kind
so-
of already had,
Yeah,
like, for the beaches that we've already kind of looked at them and gone back and forth with the beach commission about where we recommend them. The lady from the beach commission who was doing that with me just recently retired, and now Chris Mason's gonna do it, so I can meet with him and see if we could get any traction on that. It's the kind of thing like if I say, this is what we want to do and we have the beach commission support and
Sure.
rec support,
Sure.
then
If we get that far to get the actual bike racks, did anyone take into consideration some of the cameras that are already installed in town so that they could oversee those bike racks in case of someone decides to vandalize or steal a bike? I know there's cameras down by the lighthouse, coming back on Rebecca Road, there's a camera uptown by, what is it, behind CVS, Cole Parkway, it's cameras.
that's a good idea. That's not.
And if you're gonna put a bike rack out there, if we could just shift it far enough one way or another that it is covered by a camera that's up at the police station, right?
Yep, there's cameras pretty much throughout the whole harbor.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher when you deal with beaches. There's not really
I
any
mean, the
cameras at any
goal
of the beach
there
lots.
was to be pretty permanent installations where, you know, they gotta withstand flood and all that too, so they'd be probably below ground mounted there.
Just something to
The ones
consider.
that are at the senior center and the high school are nice looking bike racks, they probably do well downtown, that sort of thing, so. Okay,
So as far as bike laws, I'm very ignorant in the actual law that involves bike safety. Is there something you have, like a brochure, or do we just go online and look up state laws?
I'd be happy to pass along to you guys. A lot of this you can find on the mass.gov website. They've been pretty, they've progressed a lot throughout the past couple of years and the information they display.
I guess my
So a lot of that
point,
I can put out, I can send it to you guys, and it's
Okay.
pretty informative.
I guess my point being is if we're all on the committee and someone asks us a basic question about the law and we say, well, let me look into it, but I at least would have
let
some
me call
background.
Toby.
I did come
You
across
write
this
them?
at one point where
I do a little bit.
yeah, the state does on the state's website, they link to a third party, I think, that has a summary of the Massachusetts laws. So I could try to dig that up and send it around. It was
That'd be
pretty good.
helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Does the police department actually have a bike division? Do you guys ride bikes on a patrol at all?
We do. It started with more so in the summertime. A lot of it was from kind of our part-time officers, kind of utilizing, a good way for like community policing.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, just because of like staffing reasons, it hasn't been we haven't been able to utilize as much as we have in the past. But myself, I'm part of, so it's a Metro bike team, which essentially we'll have, I don't know if you guys see like during Thanksgiving, or I'm sorry, the St. Patrick's Day parade. We have down on First Parish when it goes down to the harbor, there's a lot of bike officers. They're usually up and down. So that's a lot of officers from different departments, which I'm part of. So we'll do various events throughout the whole entire kind of like South Shore, like Thanksgiving parade down in Plymouth, things like that.
So you'll go between towns as like.
Between
group.
towns
Oh,
as like
that's
mutual
great.
aid, yeah. So a lot of those guys you'll see on St. Patrick's Day are from, various towns around us, which is good. So and we try and, utilize as much as we can in the summertime. Really weather dependent and staffing,
Sure.
But we do have a bike division.
Yeah, I really appreciate when you guys are out on bike, it's on Front Street and whatnot in the summer. It's really positive, I think, just to see you guys out, not behind the wheel. So you keep it up, I guess, if I have to relay.
Right, yeah. As long as we get the nice weather,
Yeah.
And the little kids like it.
Oh, yeah, no, it's great for, community policing,
You guys let me know when
Nice
the next
meeting you.
meeting is. I have one.
Okay, Massachusetts bike laws, if you just go on there, they summarize the bike laws in terms of equipment, riding, safety standards, races, violations, penalties, so.
I actually printed something out already off the state website, Rules of the Road. I can copy it for you guys here.
Yeah, I think I
Or
just
you can
hit the
pass it out,
same thing, yeah. No, as a 6-page little
Yeah,
pamphlet type, yeah, it's good.
it's more so kind of informing bicyclists of, the rules for them as well. Same thing as like stopping when you come to a stop sign.
That's one of the
Things
biggest
along
problems
those,
with the bikers.
Right.
Have
Things
you
like
ever
that.
heard of the Idaho stop sign? So what it is that they pass a law out there, they've calculated that it's safer for a cyclist to come to a stop sign and use it as a yield sign. And when you come to a set of lights that's red, you stop and then proceed through it. You ever heard anything like that?
No.
Yeah, some of the states are now adopting that as law, which is interesting. I mean, I guess they've done the stats on it and figured out that it's as safe, if not safer. You got these people that are clipped in, they stop at a stop sign and they're falling over. They're slower to start out of a stop, dead stop than they are from a yield. I mean, I didn't know if you've ever heard of that.
From a rider safety point of view, that probably makes more sense, but I think from a traffic safety.
Well, I think everybody's assuming too that bikes should obey the same exact street laws as cars do. So they're under one assumption, and then if you're under a different assumption, that could be the conflict that creates an accident.
I think we need a bike rider education program too.
Yes, might start with just us learning the law.
Wanted to just point out just my own experience using the bike trail that goes along the driftway.
Yeah.
Over the dog park. They're not looking for people riding their bikes, they're on that bike trail.
Oh, coming in.
They just, even when they're coming out,
Yeah.
you know, and twice I've almost got clipped there.
Yeah.
You know, it would be good for us, not for this year for CPC, but I think it'd be good for next year, is the, like down on the Cape Cod Bike Trail, down in Brewster and every one of the
Yeah.
crossings, they've got the flashing lights on way up.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have the
Like
little
what they have in
raised
Hadley
things.
for,
Yeah, you could do
yeah.
a lot.
I mean, that could be a great grant thing. Another thing, the town's insurance company, Maya, has a safety grant program called Maya Rewards. So I can talk to Jim Boudreau and ask him to put in a request or something like that, because there's
Yeah.
probably $40,000 a year that they have access to. They just have to apply for it.
Does the police department keep records on where there are bike accidents? Is that something we could see if there's hot spots in particular
Route
areas?
3A.
We
I
do.
was
We
gonna
have,
ask that same question.
Yeah, that's all public record. You'd have to fill it out as a public record request
Okay,
through the records clerk. You can go onto the department website as well. I can forward it to you guys. And there's a public records request you can fill out from there.
but has anybody in the department looked at it from the perspective of trying to identify spots rather than
Where,
rather than
but
someone
yeah,
just getting
I can
a
look at
list
it.
of hundreds?
Yeah, no, I can look at it
Cause I
myself.
think that would be useful.
Yeah, I can take a look and try and find out where it is. We've had a few over the past couple of years, none that are really isolated in one specific
Okay,
spot though.
okay.
All been a little different, kind of spread throughout town. It's not really the same as like motor vehicle accidents, like with, you know, certain intersections in
That's
town.
what I was thinking, like
Yeah.
there
I
you
mean, it
definitely
could be,
know.
but,
Yeah,
to my
sure.
knowledge, not specifically, at least like ones that I've had to respond to, kind of like spread throughout the town.
Yeah, the rotary in Scituate is tough for bikers.
Hopefully the
People are
answer,
going slower.
I got yelled at. I was by a motorist who aimed for me. He was coming up from Marshall,
I've
going
had
to
that
the,
experience
I was
too.
going around the rotary,
Right.
and I followed it into, not Health Tracks, but the place right in the Driftway. And I asked him, I said, why did you aim for me and push me off the road? He goes, you were going too fast. I said, I was going 14 miles an hour. He goes, too fast to be in a rotary. And he wasn't gonna stop. He was an older gentleman and he said a few expos. I said, well, thank you very much, but
So
Please
there's
keep
gotta be people that have looked into how can bikes safely navigate rotaries,
Oh,
right? I
sure.
feel like this is something where we could learn from
Mm-hmm.
others' experience and like what sort of like
They do
laning and
this.
signs and routing, cause I do feel like that is a potential hotspot. And I avoid that at all costs, but it's really hard to get places if you don't wanna
Yeah,
go
it
through
is.
the rotary on places.
so
Even just some of our
hopefully the
main
answer is
roads,
no,
yeah.
but have there been any fatalities in Scituate in the last 5 years on a bike?
Yeah,
Route 3A,
Route 3A.
There's
by
there's
Millgate.
Was that Marshfield or was that Scituate?
No, I think
there's
it's-
been one on 3A near Yellowgate.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't think there are nearly enough traffic lights off 3A, like Neil Gate.
Oh,
And the other one is like Man Hill or Booth Hill, that
Yeah.
intersection that cuts through. I mean, those are just,
Yeah,
yeah.
those are nightmares for me in a car.
Yeah.
But, and I'm curious about that from the planning department perspective. I'd love to have some information on hotspots for, like, I also think Hatherley and Gannett is troublesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hatherley in particular, Country Way, are they're all winding sort of, the traffic moves very, very quickly on those roads. And some of the turns are gentle, but you can't really see around them, and that you can get in trouble pretty
People drive
quickly.
too fast.
Yeah,
Border Street as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Patrick, I'm not familiar with how the planning board really, like, I'm sure their scope is huge. Are there any like projects in the end of 2023, 2024 that we should be aware of so that we could? I know Sean McCarthy from the DPW put in a complete streets application in June to rework the town common area and maybe down to a little bit for Cole Parkway. I think there are a couple funding requests out there already from the DPW. I don't know exactly much about what the planning board has.
I'm not sure yet. I've only been on 1 or 2 meeting cycles in the course of getting appointed and then just joining the board this past week. But I will keep an eye out. Right now, it's all been, real estate permitting approvals and that kind of thing. But it's been discussed, like we are talking about the logistics of the new water treatment plant. And that will come off 3A. And so then there's also going to be, there's traffic concerns with 3A, and that includes not just cars, but also cyclists in the abutting neighborhoods who are concerned about traffic impact from delivery trucks and that kind of thing. So it's an interesting, for me, kind of a, I think someone mentioned parking lots or parking spots as the third rail. I mean, that's going to come up in any property approval in a commercial setting or a residential setting. And I kind of feel like cycling is an issue that's going to need to be addressed for some of the major infrastructure stuff as it comes up. And that's just a long way of saying I haven't seen anything directly that's been specific to roadways or funding applications or anything like that yet, but I can pass that along as I receive it.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we have to make a plan for the next meeting because we have to end. This room closes at 8:45, they shut it down, so. What do we think? Do we think a month is best?
Well, I think there's a lot of information gathering that needs to be accomplished. I don't think you can do that in a week or 2 weeks. And I think all that information, that should be the next meeting, sort of, so we know everything that's going on, who's doing what. If we have the data on where there's been any bicycle incidents in the town.
Yeah, I think a month meeting for the big group, and that allows the subcommittees to sort of get together on their own kind of thing and strategize and collect data, review data, prepared for the next meeting so that the meetings are effective.
Okay.
I think, I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot can take place between now and the next meeting, especially with the email being forwarded to everybody at the same time, so everybody's abreast of what's happening as it's moving forward. So a quick question for the committee. I've strictly got only road bike experience. Is there much off-road or mountain biking in the town of Scituate? Does anybody know?
Marshfield.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the
Wampatuck,
gravel road is now big and mountain bike is big, so I don't know if we had that scope involved in what we're thinking and planning.
In the routes big folder that I was hoping to get rid of today. I have a bunch of, there's conservation land out in the West End. There's lots of little conservation land parcels that would eventually be probably, something that we could look at for that.
Yeah.
But I think what I hear when I talk to Andrew Goodrich, he really wants us to figure out how to get to Wampatuck from Situate in terms of
I think that'd be
mountain
great.
bike, right?
The other thing that could be something to thinking longer term plan is, so at in Wampatuck and various other places, they have like those little pump tracks, so for doing mountain bike skills and training, you don't need very much space for that, so I'm thinking sort of akin to the skate park, you know, we could maybe try to identify a closer place in town where we could develop something like that where people could go for mountain biking.
Could be up behind the police station.
Oh, yeah, right in there. What is it, they have a couple of paths right
Yeah,
through
Oh, and
back there.
Alice.
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
has to go through, I mean, that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't see many people biking in there, a lot of dog walkers, it
No.
gets
Yeah.
pretty narrow.
yeah, I mean, something you need to develop, I'm just thinking like that is something that might be of interest to people who mountain bike in town who have to go to Wampatuck and often they'll have to drive there, but if they could bike to somewhere where they could practice their skills.
yeah, a lot of people go down to Carolina Hill,
Yeah, Yeah.
cause you got a lot more trails there, Wampatuck gives you a lot of
Yeah.
distance, I don't
Does the
think.
commuter rail let you take bikes on, or I know for
yeah,
a
my
while
husband
they
takes
weren't,
his bike every
because you
day.
can go you can
Oh,
go
you
get
can
off at
take-
Cohasset and you're right at the
I
Wampatuck
guess
Trail.
that's true.
Oh,
He
that's
takes
It's
it to
across the
work.
street.
Good point.
I'm not sure
So-
anyone thought of using it like that.
No, I didn't.
Is anybody in the committee actually a off-road biker here? Is everybody street?
I have an off-road bike.
I'm just a road biker, but my husband does a lot of mountain biking, so
Okay.
that's my.
I think
only
our biggest need right now is the road biking.
Yeah,
Sure, I was just curious, so if any of us are off-road bikers.
I have friends that are trying to get me out, but.
I think there's too many things already that need to be done, don't focus on mountain biking. If anybody brings it up, tell them to take the commuter rail 2 stops, I think it'd be wonderful.
Mike, can I put you under the bike routes?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Okay, anything else you want to be added to?
I think that's all for now. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else, Dan, anything you're particularly interested in diving into?
I would like to just be on the sideline for now, and then if somebody is getting caught up on something where they need additional help, I could jump in and try to do the best I could. So we did a little background on each one of us earlier, but I am retired, so I am flexible with hours. If somebody has to go up to the town hall and meet somebody or get to the highway department to talk to somebody, I could do some of that as well, because once again, I got a free schedule.
Okay. All right, well, I think I think we've divvied it up enough to get,
I could
Going.
maybe propose John under cultural walk, I ran into him the other day and he was talking a lot about trying to do these they weren't called mass rides, what did somebody had?
slow roads.
Slow rolls, he was really excited about
Yeah,
that.
and recreation's
Slow
already,
rolls, so you just started.
they've already agreed to do 2
Yeah,
next
so
year,
I'll-
so that will
I'll
be good.
just- Nominate him. Since he's not on me.
Should've came.
Yeah,
I wanna end by saying, I am so glad I came to this meeting. I am so impressed with the level of knowledge that's in this group, and it's just, you got like 20 years worth of stuff here, so. But, I think just the prioritizing is gonna be really
It is
important
gonna be.
once you get a lot of the preliminary information.
It would be really good if if one of the 2 sort of subject matter experts, we could get them in that meeting in a month's time. I don't know if that's possible or if they're willing, but yeah, I mean, just having that sort of someone who's been there before would be really helpful, I think.
Okay, so a month is October 16th?
Yeah.
Yep.
Monday night at 7 still work?
That's really good time for me.
yeah, good time.
Okay.
I won't be able to make that meeting, but
Okay,
don't let that stop the meeting from proceeding.
yeah, I think if we,
And will they always be at the library here?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
And Jeff, you were kind enough to do the meetings tonight,
Yes,
the minutes tonight. Okay, so October 16th at 7 o'clock. And I'll work on getting a room and we'll get an agenda together based on what
Do
we
you
do.
want me to ask David at MAPC about joining us that day, or should we, I know we can't deliberate over email, so I feel like I should ask that question now. if he could even join the meeting, or there was someone you were also talking to who maybe was gonna
The
go.
web designer.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the safe to school routes person would be key because I hear the more we do with them, the better they like it when we go for grants.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe that person.
Sure, yeah. I just didn't know if I'm gonna reach out to him and just let him know we're a new committee, if he can send us any resources, if I should
That'd
also
be-
ask him if he could attend a meeting, but I can wait on that.
Yeah, say, ask him if he can attend
Okay,
meetings
that meeting.
and then,
Or any meeting.
say we're just trying to confirm October 16th or pick
Okay.
the month out from
Okay.
there. And so that we might get
Alright.
the motion within the next 2 months.
Got it.
Okay,
Very productive.
all right, so I guess I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second the motion. All right, great, thank you guys so much.